This is the challenge of our time. I want you to mark today on your calendar, circle it, underline it, put colors all over it, because what Jamaica becomes depends on what you do with the information that you've received today. So I talk about this in the US all the time. This is not about education. STEM is not about education. It's not a problem of education. It's a problem of education, workforce development, and the economic viability of every community going into the 21st century. And we have to get that. We have to see that. We have to see that this problem is bigger than us. It's the challenge of our time. I want to set the context for this conversation and this discussion. And I'm going to do it in short order so we get to hear you talk. This is not about us talking at you. This has to be a dialogue. So you know the story about the frog in the boiling water? So if you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, that frog going to jump out right away. Save him life. But if you just turn up, if that frog is in the same pot and you just continue to turn up the water turn up the fire slowly but surely, that frog will be boiled to death. We are that frog in the boiling water right now. I was looking for a pencil and a piece of paper to take some notes. And I couldn't find any, but I realized I had my iPad and an iPad pencil. Technology is with us. Advance the slide, please. So, the world in 3030, right? 2030, 3030, you know. We might actually be here in 3030, right? We could. The technology is coming. So, 40 seconds of the world in 2030. Please, slides.
If you're watching this, you're among the 3% of people that understand that the future of work is going to look very different from what it is now. So keep watching. Let's see where we're heading. It's also exciting, right? Siri will recognize your voice even if you're 5 meters away from your phone. That new chatbot feels totally real. Self-driving cars are no longer fiction. You can analyze your DNA. You tried flying that drone for the first time, and you're thinking of buying a smart speaker to make your life so much easier. A few years from now, and that's something like 3 years, not 30, artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, mass 3D printing, biotechnology, chatbots, virtual reality, deep learning, drones, augmented reality, smart objects will all be deeply enrooted in our everyday lives.
That slide, that video is 3 years old. All right, so we're here. Advance the slide, please. So this is the world in 3030. You can't see it. 2030. You can't see it, but I want to highlight a couple of things, right? 3D printing will be around us. It's here now. But we'll be 3D printing things like livers for surgery, bones, ears, parts like that. That's us. 80% of the people on Earth will have a digital presence online by 2023, so in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. That's my math, 2019, right? The first transplant of a 3D printed liver, we're projecting for 5 years from now. 3D printed liver. So if you have issues with your liver right now, you're on a list waiting, or somebody has to donate some kidney and all of those things will be 3D printed, and the time is right there. Driverless cars will account for 10% of all cars in the US, and we'll stop it there, right? So this is a Business Insider article that I read. So next slide. So a few weeks ago, Tesla came out with the Cybertruck, right? And how many people ordered one? I ordered one. So in 2022, I'm gonna have and so it's 2022 and not 2021, because this truck will have an autopilot driverless feature in it. That's the world that we're living in. Next slide. So some people say the Cybertruck is ugly, but I kind of like it, and I want it. So again, a little bit of preaching to the choir. Context is everything, right? What's driving this, and what does it look like, and what should surprise us? What should we know, and what should surprise us about what's going on?
Welcome to Tech Talk. My name is Angel. The world is at the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we think, live, and work. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the change will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Industry 4.0, or what is known to most as the fourth industrial revolution, what it is, and why you should care.
So the fourth industrial revolution is the fourth time that human beings have started using advanced technology to solve problems, and they've basically started taking advantage of advances in technology to then find solutions to problems that were previously thought incomputable or unsolvable. It started way back in the 1700s when you had the first industrial revolution. This is when men started taking advantage of steam power to run machinery so that they could do jobs in much less of a time using less manpower than what was previously known. This was the first industrial revolution, and from here we see tools such as the spinning jenny, which was used in the clothing manufacturing and production facility and industry. And as such, you could see that mechanization happened at a faster pace. The second industrial revolution happened when electricity started being used as a means to then power machinery and also for people to have a better standard of living. Because once you have electricity in a factory, for example, it's easy for you to run your machinery. Once you have electricity at home, there's a higher production rate because the working hours increase. And so that was the second industrial revolution, where people started taking advantage of electricity and the advantages and the facilities that electricity could provide to make things better. The third industrial revolution, or the third revolution of industry, is the computer revolution, the digital age. Men started using computing power to solve problems. So then you started seeing calculators coming into play, more advanced calculators, basic computers and word processors. And now we're being faced with the fourth industrial revolution. This is where we're mixing the digital age, biology and biochemistry, and also computing and computing power. So we're coming up with things like 3D printing, and not only 3D printing plastics. We have people that are 3D printing genetic material. We have people who are trying to 3D print houses. You have people who are using advanced technology, emerging technologies to solve some of the world's greatest problems. So this is the fourth industrial revolution. You see, with advent such as cloud computing, where you're able to access content from wherever you are. You can be sitting in Namibia right now, you'll be able to access content that's being put on a server in America. So thanks to cloud computing, thanks to big data, thanks to the fact that computers have advanced to such a stage as to where we can solve problems within seconds that would have a few years ago taken teams of scientists days or even months to resolve. This is the fourth industrial revolution, a period in time where technology is truly taking over and machines are coming ever closer to being able to think for themselves.
So we are at an inflection point in human evolution. And what will Jamaica be in 2030, right? Said that right? If we don't think differently, think bigger than we typically think about solving our issues. This is not an issue that the Ministry of Education can solve for us. It's not an education issue alone. So next slide, please. So if there was an island, right, that would create reggae music, that island would be Jamaica. If there was an island that would send a team of bobsledders to the Winter Olympics, that island would be Jamaica. And if there was an island that would grow the fastest man in the world, that island would be Jamaica. If there was an island who would create doctors, lawyers, technologists, scientists, right, corporate leaders across the world, that island would be Jamaica. So, if there was a first STEM island, that island should be Jamaica. We have a space. So we're in a time, we have a space, a void that requires the kind of leadership that Jamaica has historically provided and will be necessary for Jamaica to provide going forward. Not just for Jamaicans, but for the Caribbean and the impact that we have throughout the world. So as we talk about building a national STEM center, let's move it up a notch. So here's what we need to do. And sometimes my wife tells me I sound so definitive when I talk, but it's open for questions. So the first thing we want to do is declare Jamaica a STEM island. Second thing, we want to do is to create a STEM city in Kingston. Kingston must become a STEM city. The first project in that STEM city is the National STEM Center. The second project is what I call the 1962 plan. Is if we think that the National STEM Center alone can train up our kids and our adults to get ready for what's occurring by the way, we're 19 years in the 21st century, right? We're still talking about getting into the 21st century. We're going to be highly mistaken. This has got to be a decentralized approach. Yes, we must have the National Center. It's imperative that we have teaching and training and pedagogy that we can train not just our people, but again, influence the Caribbean on. But we must reach out into the communities, right, where we are going to rely on teachers, yes, but mentors and coaches to teach our kids. When we say teaching is imperative, what does that teaching look like? Does it have to be formal education? Won't be. We can't train up enough people to have the impact through formal education. Can't. By the way, people like me and others like you will snatch them up in a heartbeat because that's what's happening in the United States. The moment you train up your STEM teachers, I can pay them a lot more, offer them a lot more benefits, and I'll get them. So we have to create an army of folks teaching our kids STEM, and that has to happen at the community level. So Kingston, a STEM city, National STEM Center, deploy the 1962 plan. 1962 plan is real simple. It's very significant to Jamaica. 1,000 teachers, so right away, 9,000 kids, 600 mentors, 20 schools across the Kingston area to launch us into the 21st century. That's the first phase. The second phase is to create that throughout the community across the island, communities across the island. The third phase is the big one, is a national innovation center. Right? And when I talk about national innovation center, I am talking about centers where we've created this groundswell of STEM folks. We're recruiting, we're identifying scientists and technologists and mathematicians and artists and all of those folks. And at the National STEM Center, excellence is identified, supported, and then we create some technologies and projects that not just influence Jamaica, but throughout the world. So next slide, please. Let's talk about the money, right? Because we're business people. Let's break it down. So phase one, 2020, that's next year. National STEM Center, we're going to raise $1.5 million for that. We need to raise another $1.5 million for the National STEM Center, right? So that's phase one. That's next year, 2020. We can do it. We can do it. If the plan is big enough, we have enough people that we can do it. Phase two, we need to scale to all communities. Remember, community participation is crucial, so we need to scale that. And then phase three, and that's an estimated cost of $10 million to scale it across the island. Phase three is the national, and we'll call it whatever we want, but it is where we've identified our best and brightest, and we're creating technologies that's solving problems in Jamaica and influencing the Caribbean and the world. And that we're going to raise $20 million, and all these numbers are in the US dollars. Of course, right? you can tell I live in the US, right? So next slide. So it looks like this. Phase one, we're going to raise about $3 million, starting with 1.5 for the STEM Center, another 1.5. Phase two, we're looking at $10 million. Phase three, we're looking at $20 million. So overall, about a $33 million raise that we'll do over the next 3 years. And this is absolutely possible. We have a bunch of Jamaicans who are making a lot of money, who are waiting for an opportunity like this to give back to the island in a way that we've never been asked to before. We're there. We got money, and we want to use it. Last slide. So how do we get there? Historically, we've left education, right? We've asked education to do it. We've asked our business people to do it. That's why you're here. You're going to be crucial. You are the anchor to this happening. But we also need a couple of other things. You can't see this. So this says education, right? Formal institutions. We need students. When was the last time you sat down and you asked a student, how do you want us to teach you? Right? When you've identified what the issues are, ask them, how should we approach this? right? That's what we need to do. And oh, by the way, that's the design process. We need parents. Our parents need to know. They need to know what they need to set their students up for. Oh, by the way, our parents also need to know that their work is changing underneath their feet. So you can get a twofer in that. Government's got to step up. Got to lead them. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm anti-institution. So I challenge education a lot. I challenge governments a lot because those ways are old. It's 100 years old the way we're trying to do education. Got to change that. But we must innovate within education. I don't believe we need to compete with our public institution. I think we need to work alongside and with and innovate together. Businesses, philanthropy is here. There's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money out there for STEM. And vendor partners. You know, we have a technology that can deploy STEM into communities across the island in the time frame that we're looking for. We need more people, more entrepreneurs, more innovators to come to the table with their technologies, with their support, so that we can start a project like this, scale it, and sustain it, and transform Jamaica into a place that continues to lead its people, the region, and influence the world in only the way that Jamaica can. Thank you for your time and attention. This is serious business.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lindsay. As Jamaicans, we